Hi there. The world outside looks so amazing when you look at it from the entrepreneurship point of view, right? Uh, this is the first episode of an absolutely exciting season for me of unplugging entrepreneurship. And every time I look at entrepreneurship, the meaning, the definition, the understanding keeps spanning so many different dimensions. It was important to look at entrepreneurship from a different perspective from every entrepreneur who would come on this show. And that was the objective. That is the objective of unplugging that amazing quality in a human called the quality and the enterprise of entrepreneurship. And exactly as we start with that in mind, it's my pleasure and a honor to welcome my friend and then techpreneur from the heart, from his profession, the one and only Ravi Kajaria. Ravi, welcome to this show. It's really I won't look at the word blessing, ki fortune, what do I say? But I would say it's absolutely spot on that you come in and bless this show, because I think the need of the hour is really embracing technology, right? As entrepreneurs, we need to embrace technology sooner than later. The time is now. You agree to that?
Absolutely, Suresh. I think firstly, happy Ganesh. It's a good festival, and you are starting with such a unplugged session. I should tell you that such kind of sessions bringing in a lot of flavor. How do you do business? I see a lot of businessmen, looking at futuristic where everything's fine, but still they don't gain the right kind of benefits that they have visualized. So I feel, yes, these kind of sessions are really helpful for people, good learning. And yes, absolutely, I agree with you that technology plays a very major
Important role. And that's Ravi Kajaria. Ravi has been 2.5 decades veteran in the technology sphere, whether it was Accenture, whether it was Piramal Healthcare. You headed IT in Piramal Healthcare, right? I was working on projects, if I get it right, whether it's Sony China, whether it's Mars chocolates. I remember that. The chocolates are always so important to our heart and our mouths. And whether it's SR Steel, whether it is Qatar Gas, whether it is, you said Queensland Rail, varied projects that you implemented from a technology perspective, technology consulting that you did. It looks like for me that those are large companies, right? Large mammoth Fortune 500 companies where you worked for, I mean, India and abroad. In that landscape, adopting technology in this day and age of industry 4.0, and I'm sure 5.0 is not too far off, you know better. Is it applicable? Is it even relevant to an Indian entrepreneurship landscape?
See, this is a very good question. One learning I would take out, when I did my first project way back in the 2000s year, and if I look at when they implemented technology, a very Fortune 500 company, the technology software would be outdated in today's terms, but the flexibility, what they have designed as an IT strategy, as a roadmap, that still works today.
Oh, I see.
Now, the business actually is able to change as per the market dynamics, because the competition is constant. Your competition has newer ways of doing things, right? And plus, we're in a developing economy now, especially in India. There's so many opportunities coming in, like in the Make in India and all. So you could have so many competitors coming your way. So how are you going to gain edge in that particular scenario? So that's where technology plays a very big role. And plus, you would realize now India is already on 5G network. 6G, 7G, already people are talking about it.
Yeah.
So Industry 4.0 and the other aspects are like, people are implementing in a very quicker way.
Yeah.
Technology is kind of playing a very major role.
Major role.
But it's all available there. How do you implementing your business goals is something that's very important. I cannot implement everything that's available in the market. What suits your business, what suits your vision, that's something you need to plan out.
I knew about technology, and for me as an entrepreneur, technology is something which I would probably think I'll do it tomorrow. आज इसका जरूरत नहीं है in my mind, but talking to you and getting a sense of where we are going in this conversation, the intention was that to look at technology as being something that entrepreneurs can look forward to adopting, even if somebody is not very tech friendly, so to say. it's has something which is mandatory to embrace, right? One need not be afraid of technology. It's not to say that tomorrow something might happen, today nothing is going to happen to me. I don't need to embrace technology. Should not be the way to look at entrepreneurship, right? Whether somebody's making a glass bottle or somebody is doing healthcare industry work, it doesn't matter, right? The technology is all embracing across all sectors.
See, earlier technology was, working side by side, working with you. You as a company, as a owner, had technology department helping you on your day-to-day things, keeping the lights on, I would say. But now technology's role is transforming into someone who's sitting in your boardroom as well. He needs to understand your business challenges. He needs to know where your business is going in terms of future. Let's say an example, a technology strategy guy sitting along with you and understands the business, and that's the magic that happens there. Now, how do we look at if you take an example that, there is someone who says, hey, use my software. This is ERP, just use it and you are fine. Yes, it could be helping you automate some of your mundane tasks. But you as a business owner, you are still doing operational tasks.
Right.
How do you grow? At the same time, you become more strategic. Okay, and you acquire companies in future which could actually bring you better growth and better productivity down the line. See, that strategy is different.
Right. So whether it's acquiring business or acquiring market share, because like you mentioned about competition a couple of minutes ago, and I think competition is not about entities which we can see today in the business or the entrepreneurship space, but also competition in the way the market is evolving. So much of uncertainty in this VUCA world, right?
Oh, absolutely.
It's volatile, it's uncertain, it's complex, it's ambiguous, and all of that, something which is not even we foresee is going to come almost overnight. It's just that tsunami which came one evening without any warnings. That kind of things might also happen, and technology, you feel, can be an antidote, right?
Absolutely. And, it gives you that flexibility to change, as I mentioned earlier. But then, business always has to grow. You got to be looking at a growth path. But you cannot unless and until you don't have a proper lever, a strategic lever about technology as well. People today don't look at the strategic part of it in India. The top companies do that. But the small and mid-sized organizations tend to just buy a software because I have to give a compliance report as per, what, the financial guy is asking for. But if I look at something beyond compliance, then there is a lot that can be done. There's a lot.
For example, as a designated faculty at CII, aren't you an amazing, if I use the word, teacher to the CII citizenry? Can I say that way?
Well, not only the teaching side of it, but if I look at it, I start my session with how to have a proper strategy and how basic project management should be implemented. Why should your roadmap be there for IT? And post that, you think about Industry 4.0, because I giving a 6-hour session on a particular subject, let it also be acknowledgeable that, okay, without the proper things in place, you cannot have a successful Industry 4.0.
So these are things which you roll out consistently at the CII.
Yes, I do that.
And you get a feel and sense of the need of the hour.
Yes.
Through these platforms is what entrepreneurs want today.
So I think entrepreneurs today constantly are looking, okay, I've done this, I've implemented this, what next? What next? But I see they miss out on the strategy side of it. So I was mentioning to someone earlier, that what is, according to entrepreneurship, I say it is like a white canvas. You got to have a different vision, and you have to be like a passionate artist sitting there. That's a difference between someone who's a visionary entrepreneur and someone who's, okay, I'm happy with my turnover. What's next? Next 5 years, okay, I don't have any targets. The passion, then the vision.
In some ways, that's the difference between a business person and an entrepreneur.
A business person and an entrepreneur.
I just looks at the P&Ls and the balance sheets, and entrepreneur looks beyond.
Beyond it.
Is that spirit of painting the canvas the way you want to make you move from the corporate head honcho role to the one of becoming a CIO consultant? Is that what made you come to the entrepreneur space?
Oh, absolutely. I always wanted to, and I planned my midlife in a way, I would say,
right?
Because IT industry is more like, it's constant changes, constant updations, so where and how you got to, how I can give back. So I'm part of certain, networking platforms as well. So there's a good amount of learning from my side. They say like the 50% of world doesn't know how the other side lives. So that was an experience I got. But if you look at the way technology strategy brings in, yes, it was surely a learning for me as well. And how I'm using my experience to that change in the market after COVID, it is mind-blowing, mind-blowing. It's a good learning. But yes, entrepreneurs learned a lot during that whole crisis that came across.
Right.
And they did not use technology there. The digital transformation, they say, but how do you implement it? Isn't just buying software?
Yeah.
The answer is no. You got to look at the whole scenario 360 gamut of it.
I'll come to that with an example, because this is the question which I'm sure resonates in the minds of several entrepreneurs, the difference between implementing software and what is strategy. What does it mean? We just mystify the English around, if I can say.
Yes.
But I would use it about networking. How important is for entrepreneurs, somebody who's starting up, or somebody is already established, somebody is having the pangs of uncertainty, or somebody is growing organically well, whatever space they might be in, is effective networking something that is the need of the hour? Or if I can say I've got good business, I've got pipeline, I don't need to network. Can I think that? What is the view of effective networking?
See, I look at it that entrepreneur is a lonely person, because he's the only guy who is sitting with the canvas and wanting to think beyond the horizon. So the people under him are actually working for him. They have a dream for your company, but you got to be the initiator. So I would want to network with people like me who are initiators, who are thought process, constantly evolving, progressive thought process. That's where networking plays a very big role.
So it rubs off your say. It just
Yes, I could learn something from a doctor, or I could learn something from a social media guy, or I could learn something from someone who's actually in a very small organization, but his vision is different, and I could apply that in my business as well. Or I could utilize his service to further have my vision improvised. So I think networking definitely plays a very major role when you are sitting on an entrepreneurship chair. One should really keep approaching people, newer ways of doing things.
Right.
So yes, I
keeps us on our toes, so to say, and keeps us active, right?
Absolutely.
Very nice.
The kind of questions they would come across to us, you never have thought about it. Because they are like you, progressive mindsets. They're very positive thinkers.
Yeah. And also, looking at various aspects, I mean, you come from an academic space too, entrepreneur academic space, if you can call. Not very many of them, almost nil of these institutions have courses on networking or courses on understanding how we can generate that. That's almost not there. From my opinion, you agree with that? It's not really theoretized or communicated or taught to budding entrepreneurs, right? That's something which one has to pick up on one's own.
Absolutely. I mean, entrepreneurship, networking, there's no college for it. You got to learn it with your own. Like I was telling a 17-year-old guy, and he was asking me, how do you do networking? I said, you got to be there and experience it, right? And that's how you do networking, and then you can understand more about that person, the personality, and what was his passion behind starting that engagement, what he's doing now. So you can actually learn from it. It's a good learning. So I feel when I go to these universities as an industry partner, and I feel, how do I give back to the students? How do they look at the future? So I'm happy that, the new education policy brings in not only the academics, but also bring in networking as they somewhere rub as a smaller subject with people like us as industry partners, and then they kind of look at beyond what is written in the book.
Right. Because technology has played an important role, like you mentioned, beyond the book, of actually breaking the class divide, right? Today is a situation when I can be on an even page with somebody who is well endowed. Because of technology, I can be visible. We see the reality shows. We see so many singers coming up because of technological understanding, and they come up to the limelight, even if there is nobody to support them, because of the social media impetus. Can you say that today technology has become a great leveler of somebody who's otherwise going to be stuck somewhere, and that has really leapfrogged them into a different space? Have you had that kind of experiences, especially in entrepreneurship? In entrepreneurship, you saw an entrepreneur leapfrogged ahead because of using technology as they got that added advantage? Have you?
So I'll give you an example. At a very, very small company owner, he was like doing 15 crore worth turnover business. And when they came to me as a entrepreneur coaching, kind of thing. So there's one question
Entrepreneur coaching and for information,
but technology aspect. But what we do is we get into the process first. We try to understand. And I happened to speak to his wife. When did he take you last out on a vacation? She was like, no, very different. And we just go for 2 days a year and that's all. And he works in US and in India time. Now, the thing is, moment technology was implemented, had I not been there in strategizing and helping him, he would have touched the 30 crore, that is 2x business, but he would not have been going home. Now, his competitors are doing 100 CR business or his benchmarks. How are they doing it? The difference is that they are more strategically aligned and not operationally aligned, because that's where technology brings a benefit on the table. So just imagine that you are sitting on a dashboard, KPIs, your key performance indicators are defined, and suddenly you take a decision based on that. Or rather, you don't have a proper dashboard. You get in operationally, you call up your HODs, you call up your department heads, and then take a decision. That's the difference.
The strategy, in a way, you nomenclated it by saying that looking at dashboards, looking at reports,
real-time
decision making, analytics. So implementing an ERP is like software implementation, but getting the analysis from the reports, from the intelligence that you get.
Yes.
The fact that data is moved from giving information, then to knowledge, and then to wisdom. And that wisdom aspect is what today data is giving.
Absolutely.
If you're there in that space, if I want to look at an ERP, I don't look at the demo of the software. I need to look at what wisdom will I get from those reports for analytics. Is that a good way of looking at adapting technology?
So see, analytics has been a subject there since quite few years now. But people were more looking at descriptive data.
I see.
If I'm looking at some kind of using AI tools, I'm looking at predictive analytics, where the data says, okay, in next 2 quarters, I could be here if I'm doing this. Now that's, you just kind of triggering your brain that, okay, I need to make these changes in my organization. And the final outcome, if I'm looking at a top-down approach based on that data, makes a big difference.
So application space, somebody who's into distribution can open up a new market, a new geography based on predictive analytics. Rather than opening up in territory A, this might help them to open in territory B, which makes them profitable and hence relevant, hence ahead of competition.
Exactly. And also, so you can actually look at growth across the geography.
Right.
You can put in some data which is meaningful and kind of analyze and go according to it.
Right.
So I think technology plays a bigger role. You as an entrepreneur needs to understand that, okay, what technology I can apply here.
Yeah.
And you need to have the right kind of people along in your team to guide you, because he also needs to understand your business.
Right.
The technology guy should understand business.
Yeah.
So that's very important. That's where the magic happens.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. So it's not only about the ERP software and the routers. It's about business
understanding and implementation of the right technology to bring some kind of a return of investment.
Right.
So that's where if I would look at your question that how in India that could affect. Oh, definitely, because you are in a developing country and a lot of businesses have very good opportunities now. So that's where technology, decision making, real time, and see, India is today gaining a lot in the service industry.
Right.
We are supplying software services to the globe. Right. But in India itself, I feel you Google, you get lakhs of softwares.
Right.
Now, which one suits your business? That's the decision is so important.
So in terms of curating that ocean of knowledge out there and getting to get what is important and relevant is what you bring to the table, right?
Absolutely.
Or a strategy consultant brings to the table.
Yes. Now, if you look at it, is technology only the lever for growth? I would say no. The answer is technology is one of the levers which plays a major role. Ultimately, the thought process of the technology guy has to be very important.
Right.
That's where you
Like you said, the business angle.
Business angle of it. So, that's where we work along with the business owners. We sit and understand, make them define the risk mitigation planning.
Right.
See, risk is going to occur, but you have to ensure that the impact is lesser.
Absolutely.
Because of certain strategies that are built up. And that's where I think the top companies have actually mastered that act.
Got it.
They're able to change it.
It's about prioritizing, I think. No. For an entrepreneur, we feel they can prioritize strategic consulting or strategic technology strategy later.
Yes.
The big companies probably do it.
They take it up front. That for them. And I see a lot of companies that implement SAP, but it's not a successful one. Why?
Yeah.
Why your competitor has done it? Maybe the right thought process is not gone. The right kind of people are not involved. So I think that's the major factor in India. It's still that consulting approach has still not taken the vibe. But yes, slowly and gradually people
It's happening.
are getting educated and moving on to such kind of consulting people. And you see larger companies. Wow, amazing. You see the Fortune 500 companies. They mastered it.
Right.
They mastered it.
They were all once in SME, right? And then they became Fortune 500, right?
Yes.
There was the garages startup and a small one-room startup, and then they grow.
They grow.
But that was a different space and time. Now it's a different space and age. In that sense, technology playing a role. I want to speak about this aspect of data. I think, isn't this a time when entrepreneurship in India, you mentioned, if I can use the word that today, a lot of businesses and enterprises in India are data rich, which means either acquired data or data in-house, which has happened through the course of business. That data being there, which is the key raw material for getting the wisdom and the predictive analytics and the reporting and all of that. That data, if you can use that as the treasury or the gold mine inside our organization, is absolutely unused, right? Data is being used only for billing, I think, invoicing.
You are right. I think now companies have matured as well, and how to really exploit the data,
Right,
to your benefit.
Yeah.
That's where the analytics plays a major role. But with that, again, there is compliance that is coming to picture, like GDPR or IDPR coming up. So where you have to ensure that the data is secured, that integrity has to be there, especially in pharma industry. You see, the data, or even in the banking, the BFSI segment. Data is money today.
Yeah.
So how do you secure it in the right way? So you need to have a business continuity plan.
Okay.
You need to ensure that if your servers conk down, then there is always a backup available which switches on and there is no data loss.
Got it.
So that whole strategy building, when you say it is about protection, security, integrity, because your customer today wants that I am giving you my data,
Yes.
and you are to ensure that it is secure.
Got you.
That's where the whole gamut also lies in. But yes, given the market, if I'm able to secure the data, see if it's a bank, my data is secured, it ultimately counts to the goodwill of that bank.
Absolutely.
I would love to deal with someone who has better data security,
Right.
Initiatives done.
Yeah.
So the right kind of strategy building brings in this also on the table.
So both in terms of securing data and also using data to get that business wisdom
Yes.
or the strategic wisdom.
Yes.
Both is something which comes into play when you implement strategic
Absolutely.
technology services or consulting, if you could say that.
Yeah,
By and
and
large.
you have to look at better workflows.
Yeah.
Like we were doing there was one of my clients, they were doing a statutory audit from a financial point of view. And they had certain questions to be put in the board. And I had to bring up that as an objection. The certain comment didn't go well because my ERP SAP had those features in. So as a technology consulting guy, dealing with a financial consultant, educating them, then maybe this language could be termed in a different way.
I see.
As there is a bigger implication, my independent director might take it,
Yeah.
in a very different way. So let's change the wording accordingly because this is available here.
Got you.
So now the factor is that a technology consulting guy is part of that board meeting.
Got you. Wow.
Now that's the difference a CIO or a consulting guy can bring on the table.
Got you. So if technology in a way today has well and truly become the driver of businesses, right?
You can say so. But again, it depends on the entrepreneur's vision. He's got to be knowing that what amount of capital expenditure or OPEX I need to put in my technology spending.
But I guess with the backs to the wall for enterprises, there would be no alternative, right? I mean, earlier, technology was supposed to be an enabler. Today, whether I adopt it or not, it is well and truly a driver, right? I mean, I might be able to ward off for some time. I'm not trying to give a doomsday prediction, but just to understand the point and give technology its right due. Would you say that by and large, technology should be an early conversation, whether somebody is doing a brick and mortar business And if it's click and mortar, obviously it has to be technology. But if it's a brick and mortar business, even then, technology should be one of the forefront topics to be discussing, right? Before the
Absolutely, because at times people want to do a trial and error, starting a new initiative, and they tend to move ahead a bit, and then they implement technology. Then they find, oh, this is too much of a cost,
and difficult to maneuver.
Rather, if you take it upfront and work with a better productivity, better ways of doing things, it makes a difference. The expenditure might not be big, but you get the ROI of formation. You can quantify the data. There is a way to do it. So that strategy building is so important for technology, which people miss out.
Now, I do see Ravi as do I call you as a virtual CIO?
Oh yes,
or an all-encompassing CIO. I mean,
yes,
that's the right way of
absolutely.
You would want to use the word I rather than T, not Chief Technology Officer, but Chief Information Officer.
Yes,
is that the right way of defining?
But I would put one word above it, that is strategic virtual CIO.
Oh, I see.
You understand, because the strategy piece is missing, the business point of view is missing. You got to look at the business transformation when you're using technology.
Right.
Say if a small company, they're spending even 25 lakh of rupees, so that spend is very big for them. So I just make them think differently and say, hey, look at this as an investment. You're going to get returns out of it. How? So that's a strategy piece. So your virtual CIO should be that. You can't hire a full-time CIO for a small and mid-sized organization and try to build. That's not going to be the right way of doing things.
So anybody who's in the business of a certain, let's say, a 10 crores turnover, just to give a turnover definition,
yes,
and above, to define in the MSME space, I won't say less than 10 CR, but 10 CR and above, somebody's having that kind of a top line revenue on an annual basis, would be target segments for you, for them to implement?
Yes, provided he has a better vision.
Absolutely.
Vision. And I look at it, and I often tell these entrepreneurs that, when did you had a training session last? So, I had done some management course during my studies. So, I think that's where the thing is, we say the management school is coming to you.
Right.
Look at it, and it is more towards your own business. You don't go out, we sit here, but there's an accountability partner along with you who kind of aligns certain tasks for you and makes you implement certain technology tools. Say there's a roadmap. You cannot do everything in a day.
Right.
Like Rome was not built in a day. You got to make it over a period of time, depending on your financial capability as well. And usually 3 to 4% as a market benchmark, your industry standard can be taken up as your industry, technology spend.
3 to 4% of your turnover.
Towards your turnover. Now, again, it depends your EBITDA and the other aspects. Yeah. But, when we talk business, it's about business strategy.
I'm just excited to say that today, as a small enterprise, it is not really out of place for me to imagine technology discussion is something that I can do. I need not think that it's only for the big players.
Yeah.
I can, in my own way, whether I do it or not, but I can have that conversation with somebody like you, right?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, today, if I look at a 10 CR kind of business, they would be happy with having a basic financial tool because his auditor wants it.
Right.
But how about looking at multiple sites, say next 3 years? I ask a question to any entrepreneur that, okay, how are you growing? What is your goal 5 years down the line? Someone would say, I have a 5x or a 10x kind of a plan. Then you got to start implementing the 10x strategy from today.
Right.
And you got to invest in technology in that way and reach to that. Not 10x, but you go 20x, but be flexible.
Absolutely. Technology, usually when I have conversations, I smile, I get into, Ravi gave me 3 or 4 clips for me to pull his leg, but I didn't get into that because I was so mesmerized in this conversation. I've never been the way I am right now in front of you, Ravi. I think technology was boring, but the way you communicated it so simply, it's become interesting. Which leads me to one more thing before we come to the closure part of the session, which has been absolutely, engaging. When you mentioned with the conversation about Industry 5.0, when AI comes in, and then we spoke about IoT in the age of Industry 3.0, even 4.0, and we see AI coming in. Is it also going to be disrupting employability, disrupting entrepreneurs to employ people? Will the robots take over human beings?
In some industries, yes. But I would look at that, people play a very major role. There is, as an entrepreneur, I need to leverage the people skills out there. Change management plays a very big role. I remember one of the very large automotive firms in India, when they were implementing robots in their plant, the whole plant went for a strike. And they realized that, okay, we've not addressed the people aspect. So they stopped the Industry 4.0 project, and they ensured that they gave them an assurance that, okay, none of you are going to lose your jobs because we are going to train you in doing things in the better ways of doing it. And then kind of they gained results in such a way that everyone was cross-skilled. So, see, you need to, as an entrepreneur, take care of people. People are the main asset.
Absolutely.
So you can't afford them to lose the job.
Yeah.
You use AI, that is fine. You could gain better productivity. You could do your tasks much faster. Okay, but people play a very major role. Jobs are very important. Of course, the market really needs them.
Yeah.
Market is very volatile.
Yeah.
Right.
Got
So rather use those people for doing newer initiatives or growth initiatives. Look at
Get more profitability, get more valuations, get more expansiveness,
absolutely.
get best practices done even better.
Yes.
I think these are the parts you look at, right? Employability is a small aspect. If you want that human element of bringing everybody together, that's a great learning as an entrepreneur when you mentioned about balance sheet, but also about employability, keeping everybody together.
Yes. And as you rightly mentioned about networking, these larger companies, what they do is they make cross, departments networking sessions done.
I see.
So like someone from a production department, what if he spends a week with the sales side?
Right.
Now, if he sits with the sales guy, he understands that whatever he's building,
Right.
how is it packaged and sold, and how is it difficult for a sales guy to sell it?
Right.
So he would go back and improvise, do a Six Sigma project,
Right.
and kind of come out with such nicer way of packaging it. The sales guy feels, oh, I'm connected there, and the vice versa. Then the sales guy go to the shop floor and understand how the production is happening. So these companies do it. These are internal networking sessions. So I think small and mid-sized companies miss out on these aspects.
But they can very well implement this actually. If they want to. It may not be tens and scores of people like a bigger company, but there may be one or two.
Yes.
But yet they can start building this cross-cultural experiences,
Right. So if you look at it, when they do a Six Sigma green belt training, they invite people from different departments, and then they kind of move them to a black belt training.
Right.
And then comes the technology lever sitting on top of it. So suddenly people are aligned. It's like everyone in the organization is talking the same language.
Right.
So that's where the whole implementation is successful.
Right. Absolutely. Then it says unplugged, and really the conversation gets unplugged now when you mention about the fact that technology which we always thought, or the connotation is technology is anti-human, if I use the word anti-human, and suddenly what you mentioned is absolutely resonating when you say technology has to be based on a human support system.
Oh, yes.
Human comfort, if I can use the word, right?
Yes.
And that's where technology really blooms.
Right. So again, I'll give you a very small example there. There was this entrepreneur, a big one. He invited all his, any senior presidents, vice presidents of the company to play golf on a Sunday. And he asked each one of them, what do you guys do? So when the CFO spoke, the supply chain guy couldn't relate to what is. The language was different. And the vice versa, or even there could be a guy from sales. They all had different targets. And that's where he realized that all of them are not on the same page.
And that's so important for technology to be successful.
So now, moment the technology was done, prior to that, certain trainings and certain connects were done, and then technology sat on it, they all started speaking the same number language, the similar kind of approach. There was a approach which targets on a certain goal, and that's where it culminates into a successful organization strategy, a transformation strategy.
Absolutely. Let me try and put you on a spot as we come to the finale of this amazing conversation, Ravi. Does entrepreneurship have a shelf life?
It's a very good question.
Is there an end that one has to keep in mind?
So I think the answer would be no, because it's about the entrepreneur's passion. I met so many business entrepreneurs who failed into multiple businesses, but they still get up and have a new idea and kind of they take it to the core, take it to a very different level. So I think entrepreneurship is something that has to be, nurtured. You got to do a lot of farming, seeding, be open to learning newer ways of doing things, meet very progressive and positive people like you, and, you kind of imbibe something. Your subconscious mind keeps working. Like, for example, I sometimes lose my sleep at morning 4:30 or 5. I get up. Those ideas that come into mind, I jot it down.
Right.
I don't know whether they could be realistic in terms of implementation, but there would be that one idea.
The universe converses with you at that time.
So that's where the entrepreneurs lives in a very different.
So in a way, you would say that entrepreneurship is perennial. It's an ongoing, infinite journey. But enterprises might change, right? Entrepreneurship might move from a particular flavor of enterprise to another flavor.
Different
Change
category
altogether. But the spirit of entrepreneurship is perennial.
Oh, yes. So one needs to be open to change.
Yes. So that's the technology guy, strategic consulting guy speaking about humanness, speaking about philosophy. Who said technology can be boring? Is very interesting, right? Ravi himself here. Ravi, really, really appreciate your time and the perspective that you put across. I'm sure that even if one entrepreneur watching this episode gets an idea about adopting technology, I think our mission would have been successful. It takes one drop to make the ocean flow and overflow, if you can use the word. And amazing conversation. Really, Entrepreneurship Unplugged today. It's a pleasure and honor to have you on this wonderful ride, Ravi, and opening up the minds of technology in so many different ways. Also, in a small way, demystifying Industry 5.0, demystifying the AI which is coming up, and figuring, I think it's all fine as long as you're adopting it well. Thank you for that perspective. And in conversations, I always feel one tends to conquer fears, conquer apprehensions, conquer mindsets or the lack of mindsets. And that's what conversations do. It's been such a very, very powerful, conquering conversation that I had the opportunity with you, Ravi. I'm looking forward to many more such connections, not necessarily on camera, but also off it, to make sure that we, in a way, play a small role in adding value to the entrepreneurship scale. Thank you very much.
Pleasure, Suresh. Really, thanks for inviting me. And I'm sure the audience would also get a different flavor of how the future entrepreneur should look like in the growing world,
Right.
The growing industry, the growing challenges around. So yes, looking forward to be there, and yes, network more, be positive.
Absolutely.
I think things will come to you naturally.
Superb. So Ravi also mentioned about his blood group now. So until we meet again next time, the wonderful world of entrepreneurs watching us, thank you for your time, your attention, and we will meet the next episode soon to unplug another entrepreneur. It's bye for now.